Welcome to Sam's Russian Adventures. I'm Sam, an English guy living in provincial Russia, and today, well, I'm not even sure if I should be making this video. I'm kind of in fear of whether I should be talking about the stuff I'm going to talk about. I don't know if it's going to get my channel deleted. As you can see, I'm wearing my Vladimir Putin t-shirt today, and well, am I allowed to wear a Vladimir Putin t-shirt on YouTube? I don't know. In 2022, about 2.5 years ago, we all received, all the content creators all received an email from YouTube, from Google, with the updated terms and conditions, the things we're allowed to say on YouTube, the things that we're not allowed to say on YouTube, otherwise we break the terms and conditions. And they were all about how we talk about the conflict with Ukraine. Are we allowed to say certain things or not? Basically, pro-Russian stuff is forbidden. And so if you talk positively about Russia with regards to Ukraine and the conflict, then your channel will get blocked. And if you talk positively about Ukraine and America, then the chances are you get a lot of views. So since then, about 2.5 years ago, we've had loads and loads of pro-Russian YouTube channels blocked in Russia, completely deleted without any explanation at all. And that has continued, that trend has continued over and over and over again. While content which heavily promotes Ukraine's version of events and the American version of events, especially with regards to the conflict in Ukraine, those channels are heavily promoted. Now, obviously you do have lots of channels, American citizens, right, that do create content talking about the things that are happening in Russia and things from Russians' point of view. But when it comes to Russian citizens themselves, well, those channels are being deleted all the time. So the Russian government planning to block YouTube completely in Russia, is that because the Russian government are against free speech, or is it because they're against the cancel culture, which is basically stopping anything that's pro-Russian from being shown on YouTube and everything anti-Russian being promoted? Is it free speech blocking, or is it Russia's answer to cancel culture? So I've decided the most important thing in this video is to stick to the exact facts rather than to speculate, because if I speculate, then, you know, I can be called out for something. So as long as I stick to the exact facts and don't make anything up, then at least I can't be called out on something. And I know a lot of people will say, you know, why are you talking about, you know, YouTube blocking content in Russia? If someone speaks out, they get put in prison, right? It's not like in the UK where you can say what you want. Well, that's not true. Unfortunately, it might be a bit of a shock to you, but people that protest in the UK, and I'm not talking about these last thing that's been going on with the immigration, but people generally in the UK that protest, and especially in the US, get arrested all the time, and lots of prison sentences are given out. Now, obviously you're taught that if you do that in Russia, then you're arrested, right? And there are occasions in Russia that people have been arrested, but nothing like on the scale of the UK or the US. Now, that might be difficult to believe, but in the US especially, loads of people are arrested and sentenced for protesting. And obviously that might be strange for you, right? Because you're taught that in Russia you have no free speech, but in the US, 1/3 of the entire world's prison population is located in the US. And that's pretty crazy, right? If you think about it, let's just say that there's only 100 prisoners in the world, right? In the entire world, only 100 people in prison, and 33 of them are in the US. That's crazy. 1/3 of the world's entire prison population is located in the US. And in the UK, people that have been sentenced to prison for hate speech online is in the thousands in the last year. For hate speech online, so many people have been sentenced to prison. Now again, I know you're taught that this only happens in Russia, right? Russia sentences people to prison. In the US and the UK, far more people go to prison for protesting and for hate speech online than in Russia. But we're taught the complete opposite. Now I know this is really strange because we're taught that press freedom and freedom of speech isn't a thing in Russia, but is a thing in Western countries like in the UK and the US. But the thing is, it's not about freedom of speech, it's about saying the things that they want you to say. So it's not about me speaking facts, it's not about me saying that this is good in Russia and this is bad in the UK, or the other way around. It's about me sticking to the narrative, and if I stick to the narrative, then it's completely fine. I don't have to tell the truth. What they mean is, I can tell the truth, as long as it's their truth. So I have to double check what I'm saying to make sure I'm saying their truth, and then it's fine, whether it's true or not. You see, the governments and the media, they're really good at, criticizing what people do in one country while doing even worse or just as bad in their own country. It's the case as one of my good friends, the Plastic Russian channel, Chris, he says it's a case of do what we say, not what we do, because they do far worse, but they tell you that you've got to behave a certain way and ignore what they do. We have lots of events that have happened recently. For example, the prisoner exchange. Everyone's been talking about that, and when they talk about prisoner exchanges, they say, well, the people that are arrested in Russia, foreign citizens in Russia that are arrested there, just arrested for no reason. They haven't done anything wrong, and they're just genuinely normal people that have been arrested for no reason. But if a Russian is arrested in the US, then that Russian has done something wrong, they're a spy. And that's kind of how it works. It's a bit weird, right? So all the foreigners that are in Russia, they're just normal people that were arrested for no reason, and all the Russians that were arrested in the US are obviously spies. Crazy, right? I mean, people would say, like, why would the US do that? US is free, right? Only Russia would do something like that. I mean, it's not like the US created a jail on an island and kidnapped people from around the world, put them there, tortured them, held them without trial for years, and God knows what they did to them. It's not like that happened, right? I mean, that would only happen in Russia, surely. Now, many people are going to say, well, Google is American and YouTube is Google, so surely YouTube have got the right to decide what content they allow on their channel, what content they allow on their site. Surely they should be able to decide if they think content is pro-Russian and shouldn't be allowed, and if content is anti-Russian it should be allowed, because they're a private company. But at the same time, they're a US company, and the US talks constantly about press freedom, about being able to show the truth, no matter what truth it is. Or am I missing something? I thought press freedom meant that you could show the truth. I'm confused. I don't understand. So isn't Russia accused of not having press freedom and not being able to show the truth? But YouTube should be allowed to decide what truth it shows because it's the private company. I'm so confused right now. So in America we have press freedom, or we don't have press freedom? What's going on? It's all really confusing, because I thought the US was the land of the free. But what you're saying is YouTube doesn't represent the US then, so YouTube isn't the land of the free? I'm confused. And so for this reason, I can only talk about facts, actual facts. If I talk about statistics, they've got to be facts, but facts can still be wrong, because it doesn't really matter about the actual fact, it matters about the narrative. And so if the facts that I talk about actually show the wrong narrative, then those facts are also not allowed. You see, the government and the media kind of intertwined, aren't they? And the government and the media have created labels. Such as me, for example, if I'm talking about this topic, then I'm a Putin propagandist or a Putin apologist. And it doesn't matter if I say the truth or not. That's the label that they give to me. And that label is not allowed on YouTube. And so my theory is that Russia blocking YouTube is Russia's answer to cancel culture. Simple as that. You see, cancel culture is all about labeling. It's about labeling anyone who goes against a particular narrative. And so if I'm labeled, then I'm cancelled. And if I'm cancelled, then it shows anyone else that is thinking about going against the narrative as well, that you're going to be labeled and you're going to be cancelled. And it's pretty shocking, but that is how the world works. It's not about facts, it's not about truth, it's about the narrative. You can say whatever you want, whether it be the truth or not, as long as you stick to the narrative. The narrative has got to follow the guidelines that has been set for YouTube. So as long as you follow those guidelines, as long as you're anti-Russian, not pro-Russian, you can say anything you want. But if you're pro-Russian, then basically it doesn't matter what you say, you can be cancelled. And if we look at something that's happening right now in the UK with the protests about immigration, they've done a really good job at labelling that too. And what they do is they give people these labels so that other people are scared to ask questions, scared to talk about it, because they don't want to get labelled. Once you're labelled, that's it, game over for you. So what do I mean? Well, at the moment in the UK, there's a huge concern about immigration. It's a huge concern. It's a concern for the entire population. But what's happened recently is it's gone a bit out of control. And what a lot of people have done is they've taken to the streets and they've smashed things, they've been racist, it's all been a bit crazy. But the government have used this in a great way, and so have the media. The government have said, look, this isn't a problem with immigration, this is a problem with the far right. This is a problem of the far right. And so if you have a problem with immigration, then you're labelled as the far right. And what this has done is it's got other people onto the streets in the UK to show, look, we're not racist, we're against racism. And so now the government and the media have basically said, look, this isn't an immigration problem, this is a problem of the far right. And so if you have a problem with immigration, then are you far right? That's the label. The people that have a problem with immigration now have to be considered as far right. And so no one wants to be considered as far right, so everyone wants to show their support, to show they're not racist. They're the two choices. They refuse to even address the problem that a lot of the general public have, that there's a problem with immigration in the UK. They've made it not about that. They've made it about, look, if you have a problem, then you are far right. So who are you? Are you against racism or are you far right? Got to choose sides. There's no side for, well, maybe I'm just concerned about immigration. That isn't the topic anymore. They basically said that once this thing's over, once the people have been jailed, that's it, it's finished. Well, it isn't finished. We've still got the problem with immigration. What problem with immigration? Are you far right? So we've gone a little bit off topic. Let's go back to Russia. Now, at the moment, Russia cannot control the situation. The only information that's allowed to be created on YouTube is anti-Russia. But this makes it really difficult for Russia. What would you do if you were Russia? Would you therefore block YouTube? Now, a lot of people will say, well, hang on a second, if Russia's then blocking YouTube, is that because Russia only want to have propaganda in their country? They want to control the media and they only want to have information that is positive towards Russia? Well, hang on a second, isn't that what YouTube are trying to do? Isn't that what Google are saying? Google are saying, well, Russia today is banned in the US because it's propaganda, right? And we forbid any pro-Russian content on YouTube. So the only content that we want people to consume is going to be content that's anti-Russia. But then if Russia block YouTube, everyone will say, oh, it's because Russia only allow propaganda. They want to control the media. But surely that's exactly what YouTube and Western media are doing by blocking Russian news channels blocking pro-Russian content on YouTube and promoting anti-Russian content. Surely it's exactly the same thing. Crazy, right? But it's all about the marketing and the labeling. You see, if Russian news is banned in the US and the UK and Russia Today is blocked on YouTube and all these Russian channels are deleted that are pro-Russia, well, that's not curbing freedom of press. They market that as stopping propaganda and misinformation from landing on the ears and the eyes of the free. That's what that's about. Blocking Russian content that's pro-Russian, Russia Today, is marketed as blocking misinformation. Because if you want information like that, then you're labeled as a Putin propagandist and you don't want that label. So basically, it's fine to block any information, whether it be on YouTube or on the news, if it's pro-Russian, because you're protecting your free citizens from propaganda. Whereas if Russia do exactly the same, they block YouTube and they block, you know, anti-Russian information, then they're stopping the truth from getting to the citizens. It's exactly the same thing, just marketed in two completely different ways. Now, I'm not suggesting that Russia Today is all truth and all facts and, you know, we should believe everything that you see on Russia Today. But surely the BBC is just as much state-owned as Russia Today is. They love to say that Russia Today is state-sponsored propaganda, but surely the BBC is paid for by the tax dollars earned by the state, so surely it's state-sponsored as well, and the employees of the BBC actually have to sign a contract saying that they'll stick to the exact script of the foreign policy. I saw quite a few people have gone off script and really got themselves into hot water about it. So the sad thing now is that I'm actually in fear. I'm in fear for this video that I made today, and I'm in fear for the channel. Why? Have I said some lies? No, I haven't made up any lies at all. I've only mentioned facts, but it's not about whether you lie or not. It's all about the label. And now, because of this video, I'm labeled. I'm labeled as Putin propaganda. I'm labeled as a Putin apologist. And so, therefore, anything can happen to me. As I said, it's got nothing to do with the truth. It's about their side of the truth. And as long as I stick to their side of the truth, then I'm fine. But if I say our side of the truth, or my side of the truth, or a truth that differentiates from their side of the truth, then I'm labelled. And being labelled is enough to get you cancelled. So you tell me, Russia blocking YouTube, is that a good thing? If YouTube was Russian and everyone watched it in America, and anything that was pro-American on it was banned, and only content that showed America negatively was allowed, would America ban it? And if America banned it, would the whole world say, oh, they're only banning it because they're, you know, protecting their country from propaganda? Or would they say that they're banning it because they're scared of press freedom? Which one is it? You let me know in the comments. If you were Russia, would you ban YouTube? Or if Russia bans YouTube, does that mean that they're scared of Russians from knowing the truth? And they're scared of press freedom? Surely one of them is true. But be careful which one you say, because you'll probably get labelled. And if you're labelled, anything can happen.